Dhani watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Gulp. You can't even.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry. I started while he was in mid-drink of the lovely Mountain Dew.
Just another 2 seconds would have been great.
Well, I don't have patience.
I know.
We all know this.
Not another 2 seconds.
Not another 2 seconds.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, hi. Welcome to Watching My Stories.
Hi, everyone.
I'm Dhani.
I'm John.
And these are the stories I've been watching. That's it. That's as good as it's going to get. I can't come up with anything else.
That was the high note? Okay.
Yep, that was it.
Wow. All right. Well,
so
we'll try to get together here.
Yeah. Well, we're back. Another pretty slow week as far as movies go. But we're going to start about one that is in theaters now. And I recommend everyone going to see it, called The Hate U Give.
Mm-hmm.
I had briefly mentioned it last week when I was talking about Amanda Stenberg, that she was in The Darkest Minds, the Rue from Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying that she had this movie out right now. And yeah, it was, she's amazing. She's just really good in everything now that I've seen her in. And it's going to be really hard to talk about this movie. So I just want to say, everyone go see it. Period. It should be mandatory in schools. Yeah. So this is a fictional story. It's basically it's based on a book. But it's not a fictional story. We have seen this unfold many times. Mm-hmm. So it centers around Amanda Stenberg's character, which is, her name is Star. She lives in
a yellow submarine? Sorry.
No. She lives in a poor neighborhood that has a lot of violence and has a huge gang that runs it. And she has two brothers, and her parents put her in a private school. So then she's in this other world, and she introduces us to, the two stars. There's one that has to be at the private school where she holds back basically herself for her blackness, and then there's her in her normal neighborhood where she is herself, but then she's also hiding her school life from that community as well. So she has to straddle these two worlds. Anyway, she's at a party one night with her friends, and shots ring out at the party. So she takes off with a friend, and they get stopped and pulled over by a cop, and the friend gets killed by the cop. He reaches into the car for his brush, and the cop thinks he's reaching in for a gun and just shoots him, and he dies. And so then it's about excuse me, everyone. It's about everything that kind of encapsulates that. Now, the best thing was, well, the whole movie was great, but the movie opens when Star is actually only 7 years old, and her dad is giving her and her brothers the talk. And if you don't know what the talk is when it comes to black families in this country, they have to give their kids the talk on when they are pulled over or when cops confront them for any reason, and how they're supposed to behave in order to avoid being killed, which, let's face it, is a ridiculous talk to have, but unfortunately in this country...
How monumentally sad is that?
It's the worst.
I mean... It's
the worst. So it's a great speech, though, him giving her the talk, the way he says it, the way he explains everything. And it says, this is not you, and it's not your blackness. This is just the way things are, and don't ever let it, become anything more than that. So we start with that, and then we get into the whole story, and then it's about, does she stand up against the cop? Because of course cops don't get in trouble for things like this. So then it's, does she stand up for her friend that was killed, to say the cop was wrong? If you do that in these communities, it could be snitching, because her friend did work for the drug lord, the gang lord in the neighborhood, so she could get in trouble. If you do that as well, people who are on the cop side will be angry at her, so she could become this target for anyone, really, on any side, but she also wants to stand up for her friend who didn't do anything wrong. Then she has to deal with this stupid white school where all these kids are walking around using slang and thinking they're this or that. And then they, like, one day they have a protest for justice for her friend. They don't know that she was with him. You know, she doesn't tell her, like, she literally keeps things separate. And she says that I have to keep everything separate.
Okay.
So she's pissed that they're then holding this protest because really they just want to get out of class, which I think we've all been in situations like that. And then it turns out like her closest friend at this school says really awful things and like, oh, cops' lives matter too, you know, and all that sort of bullcrap that then enrages her, and she ends up losing that friend because the friend just couldn't understand and wasn't. Ugh, it was making me so angry. Like there are so many things that make you so angry. But anyway, but then it's also about this family and the family dynamic. Like her parents had her when she was 17 and they're still together, and her parents are Regina Hall and Russell Hornsby, and they were amazing in this. They are so in love, and he is instilling things in these kids that are so important. And yet, you know, like at one point she apologizes. I'm sorry I said anything, because finally she decides to you know, testify in the grand jury, and she goes on TV and stuff, and like things happen, and so she's like, I'm sorry I said something, and he goes crazy, and he kind of, not crazy, he just gets really angry, and he stands them up and he says, you know, he had originally had them memorize the Black Panther code, and so he says, what was this one? And they say, you know, we want to end police brutality against our people. And he says, you always talk, always say what you need to say, you know, never apologize for that. And it's a fantastic speech. And Common's in it. Common plays her uncle, and he's a cop. So again, at one point, there's a whole nother great scene where she's saying to him, you know, he's saying, look, cops have a lot, like he's the cop side of the point of view, right? And he says, we have a lot of things to consider when we pull someone over. And he kind of lists out, you know, how are they behaving? What are they looking at?
I'm looking at you.
You are?
Yeah.
It looks like you're looking beyond me.
No, I'm looking at you.
Okay.
Jesus.
And,
I just moved my microphone and trying not to breathe directly into it, so I'm off to the side, but I'm looking at you.
Heavy breathing.
Holy
Anyway,
smokes.
so this whole thing is, so he's going down the list of what cops are dealing with, and is there someone in the car with him? And if it's a female, does she look like she's in trouble? Has she been hurt? You know, all this, like he's kind of, you start to go, oh, well, that is a lot that cops have to think about, right? But again, logically, she goes, but do you just shoot? Or do you say, you know, hands up, you know, like, because the cop obviously never said that in her situation.
Well, that's the thing that strikes me about all these reports you hear today and what's going on is like, it seems to me that, and I understand being a cop is a hard job and tough and you're putting your life on the line every day. But at the same time, if your first instinct is to shoot, you're probably not going to be a good cop.
Right. So you know, they go through this scenario and he says, I would shoot. And she goes, well, what if you're in a white neighborhood and you pull over a white guy in a suit and tie driving a nice car? He could also be a drug dealer. And Common says, yeah, he could. And she goes, so if he reaches into the car, do you shoot or do you say hands up? And he says, I would say hands up. Mm-hmm. And she's like, do you understand what you're saying here? You know, and it's a very powerful moment because you understand that Common gets it. You understand that she gets it. And he said, the world's a very complicated place. And that's not at all an excuse. But it's that, again, it's just fueling this anger that you kind of go through the whole movie. And it's all so well done. The characters are so good. All the actors are amazing. And then, of course, it's not, they want to leave you with some hope. And they do. And it's a very, you want to finish this thinking, you know, the younger kids are going to get it. And maybe something will change and that sort of stuff. Of course, we know that it's not, unfortunately, right now, especially. But it's a really good movie to watch. So, you know, what kept in my head the whole time is obviously they do reference a lot of the real stories that we have dealt with in the world. And as far as movies go, if you haven't also seen Fruitvale Station with Michael B. Jordan that came out, that could be close to 10 years ago now.
Probably 10 years ago.
That's the true story of another cop shooting that killed a young kid. And that was a fascinating movie to watch and really horrifying movie to watch because it was a real story, and we got to know more about him and his life and the people around him and see a little bit of the aftermath of the cops dealing with that whole thing. So this one, obviously, you're watching something that's fictional, but it is made in a way that is so truthful and honest. They did not make anything look pretty. And I for one appreciated that because the tension and frustration and stress of just living day to day comes through in this movie. And that's what I think people need to see and recognize, that it's not just when you get pulled over. It really isn't. It's a lifestyle that has to be lived in this country for so many people. And it's so unfair. I just, like I said, I think everyone needs to see it and get through this. And maybe some people will start to understand things and change some things.
You would hope, but I don't know.
You would hope.
It's such a sad, stupid situation.
It really is, and it's a good movie. Like I said, Amanda Stenberg, she's amazing. I will now see everything she does, because this is like the fourth thing I've seen her in, and she's just so good. Issa Rae is in it. Anthony Mackie's in it. Like I said, Common. Russell Hornsby's great. Regina Hall's great. So yeah, it's really good. I'm giving it 5 stars because to me it is just one of those things. Good. It's one that I want everyone to see.
Good.
For sure. And it's in theaters now, so check it out.
Okay.
I didn't want that to turn into like a big old political thing, but you kind of can't avoid it.
It's hard not to.
It's nuanced, and it's
especially this day and age when you have the dipshit president we have.
Okay, now we're really getting
I turned it into a political discussion.
Okay, so the next thing, that's it as far as movies that I have to talk about. But I did want to just switching to the complete other side of the spectrum. Crazy Rich Asians came out on pay-per-view on Tuesday, or it came out for sale on Tuesday. We've talked about this twice already because I talked about it when I saw it, and then I took John the following week. I just wanted to say that it's out. So if you didn't get to see it in the theater, go buy it. Rent it, pay-per-view, whatever. I bought it on Tuesday. I've watched it 4 times already this week.
Yeah, it's
been a rough week, and when I need my happy place, that's where I went. There was a shooting. There are these fires right around here that is going on. Like, it's, we had the midterm elections. It was a rough week. And so, yeah, during the day, I was like, happy place time, and I put it on, and it does. It makes me happy. Crazy
Rich Asians is a good elixir for a lot of things because the biggest turmoil in the movie is so low key. It's a really good movie.
Yeah. So just wanted to put it out there. It's out, and everyone should see. Okay. So then turning to kind of TV, but this is a Netflix special. John Leguizamo has a new special out called Latin History for Morons. And this was great. This was like, and and you watch it and it's called that. And I actually did post about it because I was like, I didn't think I was a moron, but man, I didn't know any of this. And neither did he, which made me feel better, and that's the premise of it. So basically the premise of it really is his kid needed to do like a hero project at school, and he wanted him to have like some sort of Latino hero. And he realized that, except for like the norms that we might come up with today, the people that we actually know today, he was like, well, what about historical heroes? So John went back and he researched, and he goes back, to 1000 BC or whatever, and he starts figuring out what actually happened. And it's an amazing, amazing history. And it makes you sit there and go, what the heck? Like what? And he actually poses that question because basically he starts with, it's called Latin History for Morons, it's really about like Native Americans and all the Americas, North, South America, and all the different people that have lived between Mayans and Tahitians and like all these people, these different groups of people that I'd never heard of. And at one point he says there were, I believe it was, the number was 73 million of these people on these lands, between like the Indians up in northern North America all the way down to South America, some islands, you know, basically the Haiti and all that. There were like 73 million people here, and then Europeans came and wiped out 95% of the people. I mean, genocide like outrageously. Not just that, these people, that sounds weird to say. That sounds weird. But in this history, like they were rich, thriving populations of people with their own art, and they had 500,000 tons of gold that the Europeans stole. Like they used gold in everything, in their art and in their, you know, their house and all that sort of stuff. It was all stolen. All the people were killed. And from that point on, the Europeans started this story of any of these, whatever you want, if you understand what I'm talking about, and we're calling all of those people Latino people, started the whole story of them being savages. And that's where that whole kind of thing starts with, oh, their artwork is savage. You know, like one thing he points out, he goes, why is our artwork folk art and yet European art is fine art? Like, who made that determination at some point? But they did, you know, basically the white dudes did, and they just started this whole thing that they were savages and they didn't know refinement or culture, and they had nothing, and that has now stuck for thousands of years. And especially, again, watching it today and what we're going through and the brown people are going through, it's an incredible history to go through. Though he names how many Latinos served in the American Revolution, how many served in the Civil War. They've been in every war that this country has ever fought. You know, there are generals that are Latino people. Like he goes on and on and on, and consistently finds different heroes to try and pitch to his son for his project. And it's just an amazing thing to watch, because of course it's John Leguizamo. He's a great storyteller. If you've ever watched any of his specials before, going back, I think Freak was his first one, but you know, he's won Tonys. He's been nominated for Tonys for all of these shows that he does. He's amazing at storytelling. It's always funny, but he gets into it and you get this information out of it. And it was one of those things, like when I started it, I was just like, well, this will be funny. You know, like I thought it would be funny and it wouldn't be really stuff I didn't know. Right. And then it is. And I was absolutely blindsided by it by the end of it, going, it's all,
turns out it was everything you didn't know, and probably wasn't that funny.
It was funny. There's a lot of, it's very funny. He's good at that. But he tells the story, and I mean, I'm sure there are people who know a lot of the stuff and they'll watch it and they'll go, yeah. But he cites a lot of books, a lot of works of things. And the other day he actually just posted a syllabus that is all the books, which is great because, you know, he's saying, every person needs to read this book and this and this and this. So now we can actually go and look at those things. Good. So it's very informational, very entertaining. And again, something that people, especially today, this should be in schools. So, cause that was one of the things he's picking up his kids' textbooks at the time. And he even said, I knew as a kid that this stuff was not being taught in my history classes. There was never stories about people that were like me. And so then he's looking through his kids' textbooks and there's nothing about Latin history in there and the Latin people. Right. So, you know, they've been erased in a way, but he's bringing it back. And again, I think this is important for people to learn, and maybe we can start to get these stories into our American history because they belong there. And maybe again, people's outlooks will change and this is a very political show today. I didn't realize how much, but I guess there's just this feeling right now, and it's all coming out.
Couple observations here. First of all, I think I'm having a bad day because as you're sitting there with the upbeat hopes, and we start to get this into our history and all this stuff, I think I may have been doing it outwardly too, but inside I was shaking my head like, we got so much crap to get past right now that almost doesn't even seem possible. So
I'm not gonna think that.
I'm trying. I normally am a very upbeat, positive okay, arguably upbeat.
Used to be
pretty upbeat, pretty positive, but I look at I don't want to talk politics, right?
But here's my thing.
I just hope that we eventually get to a point where we can be honest with ourselves and just say, look, history here didn't start when Europeans got here.
Right. And he talks a whole crap ton about Columbus and what a shakedown that was, because he didn't, and we all know this now, he didn't actually find this land. There were people here well before him.
Well, he found it, but he was not the first.
But he was also he raped and pillaged and killed everyone around him and all that.
Yeah, he was a bad visitor.
Another next step in my book would be to take away Columbus Day. But anyway, we should replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day is what it should be.
Oh boy. I don't disagree. I'm 100% on board. But you look at the freak show that's going on right now. That's a ways off.
Well, here's why I think I get hopeful about this, and it's very simple for me, is I've basically only learned everything I learned from TV and movies, and I've said that all my life. So when I watch something that teaches me something, and I feel like if everyone just watched this, they would all get it, and I know that's a very strange outlook, but sometimes it does help. Sometimes, that is something that gets people going. I mean, look at the documentaries about the whales, and now SeaWorld is crap, and sometimes it is something that helps to move people forward and put it at the forefront of what people want to change.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so that's the hope on my side.
My other observation is, as a white Anglo-Saxon, heritage person, now I just feel even worse about myself.
You should.
I do. Like, I wasn't feeling bad enough before we sat down to talk about this stuff.
I know. There's a lot of, I think, everyone talks a lot about white privilege, and obviously that I think that exists on all of our, there's not a white person who probably doesn't have white privilege, because you do just by leaving your house.
Well, you do.
Period.
Here's the thing. You do and you don't know it.
Right.
You don't recognize it.
Everyone has it because
it's your baseline.
I can leave the house and not be attacked
from
the start.
It's all you know.
Right. But I think now we need to start exploring the white guilt and the white shame, and that's a whole nother thing that I think people are finding is happening today, which is also really weird, but maybe it can lead to a good thing. I don't know, so I'm not going to get into all that.
Well, look, if a white person, if an average white person, it starts to dawn on them, comparatively to black people and Latinos and all other minorities, that, gosh, I really do have it good, and I feel bad that these things are going on. That can only help. Because if enough people start to figure out that they have an unfair advantage, that there are people who are discriminated against and disadvantaged because of how white people look at them and how they treat them, that's
right.
If enough of those people figure it out, that's when it'll start to change.
Right. There's an interest, and I really don't want to get into this much more, but I just want to say this. I saw an interview with America Ferrera, and she's got a book out called I'm not going to misquote it, but I think it's like My America or America Like Me or American Like Me or something. And I'm sorry, but America Ferrera she was out. She was talking about her book, and she said something so profound. She was like, I thought from the time I was little that I was this uber American and so patriotic, and she was named America, and all that stuff. And she's like, I grew up loving my country. And then at some point in my childhood, the outside world started to tell me I wasn't. And I had no idea. And she's like, so it was a weird thing for her to experience. And I realized that's what everyone is experiencing. And that is the worst possible entry, you know. I mean, and not I mean, she was born and raised here, and it's just like, but because she looked different to people, then they started being mean. And so that's something that I think everyone needs to think about. And anyway, watch these movies and everything.
My white guilt just ticked up another notch.
Okay, I'm moving on.
Please.
So sorry, everyone. What line from Hamilton just?
And I'm here for the comic relief, and it's really hard to throw something.
You're not doing well.
Well, how do you throw a comical comedy into that?
Yeah, don't.
Right.
Next.
Sorry.
Okay, on the TV. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the Purge TV series.
Jesus Christ.
Because it ended.
Okay.
So there were 10 episodes.
Oh, good. It's over.
It's over, but it did just get picked up for a second season. And I'm really excited about it. So these 10 episodes were really fun. Like, I know that sounds so horrible.
Oh, my God.
But if people watched the second movie, and I don't remember what the name, was that Anarchy? I don't remember. It felt a lot like the second movie, and I really liked it. So we were introduced to like 6 different sets of people, and we come in, you know, right before the Purge starts, and they're all in their own little worlds. There's a married couple that's just got pregnant, and there's a woman executive who's working in her job and is locked down for the night, and there's a girl that was like, I think I mentioned on here before, she was on a bus where these volunteers had decided they would be sacrificed for the Purge, and then her brother who was looking for her and was out and about all night trying to find her and stuff. Anyway, so every week we followed these people throughout this 12-hour period of the Purge overnight, and all of the things that they would come across and danger that they would be in. You know, if you're not locked up during the Purge, you're in danger. You in danger, girl. So it was really fun because, you know, the people who put this together, and the movies are a little original, right? The whole idea is original, but to have to put together 10 hours of this, first off, the costumes were so inventive and scary and freaky, and lots of like neon lights. Yeah. And
you showed me
the nuns.
Yeah, that's freaking awful.
They were great, and just every time you come across another group of killers, they'd be dressed up in the weirdest and coolest, and like, you know, just really original on the whole costuming thing. Anyway, what ended up happening, which I didn't see coming, is all these people ended up in the same place at the end. There was a guy who was going out and gathering, and he ended up gathering all these people together, and he was deciding that he had the right to purge, which is the point of the new founding fathers. But he was going to do it fairly, so he was letting everyone kind of testify as to how they wronged him, and if he felt like it was a good enough apology or regretfulness or anything like that, he would let them go. If not, he was going to kill them.
That's the fair part?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people are just rolling up and killing people, and, you know, so... And that was also inventive. There were little inventive ways he had things, you know, like one person tried to escape, and he had gotten all the doors booby trapped. So she opened the doors and just blasted right and killed and couldn't escape. So, anyway, it was
killed and couldn't escape.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a very, I enjoyed it. It was,
Jesus. Okay.
You know, again, sometimes I'm just looking for something different. And even though it is like the movie, it was a good group of characters. I cared about most of them. And leading into the way they finished it, I'm hoping that a couple of them are going to be in the second season, and we're going to see them some more. Mm-hmm. So I think that could be really cool as well. I don't know. I haven't heard if they're back for it or if, you know, what's going to happen. So we'll see. Now, second season, maybe it'll feel a little boring at that point. You know, maybe it'll feel like, oh, we've done all of that and who cares? Mm-hmm. We'll see. But I did enjoy it. So if people out there liked the second movie and never got around to seeing this series, I'd say it's totally worth watching. I'm sure FX has it, you know, on their FX Now or whatever.
Sure.
And it's 10 hours, 10 episodes, and it was good. I really liked it. I liked it more than I think I thought I would.
Okay.
You
Sorry,
know.
I just had a thought.
It's not gory. Like, I know it seems like, oh, so people are killing people for 12 hours straight. Yeah, but it's not gore at all. I cannot handle gore. So it is not. It's just murder.
Okay. Yep.
Just good old fun fashion murder.
Fun fashion murder.
Okay. So that was The Purge. I just want to talk, we're in the middle of the last season of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and after last night's episode, I felt like I just wanted to talk about it. I think I touched a little bit on it when it was starting, but Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, if you don't know, it's in its 4th season. This is its last season. It's on the CW. Rachel Bloom is the creator and of the show, and it's a musical show. Not like Glee, but like an actual musical show where there are 2 songs an episode and the songs further the story. So they're not doing covers. These are all original songs. Mm-hmm. And it's a comedy. And it's turned into such a beautiful thing. Really, you know, like the first season, you're along for the ride, and it was so funny, and the main character Rebecca was a little off, and we weren't really sure what was happening, but we were kind of like, whatever, it's just a funny show, and they're singing and dancing, so who cares, you know? And anything that has singing and dancing for me, I'm sold.
Yep.
But there's a great cast of characters. Everyone sings and dances. And then the second season, we started getting into where she was kind of going off a little bit. You know, like the character was getting a little dark and doing some questionable things. And again, we weren't quite sure because still we're funny and we're laughing and, you know, all of that. And so eventually now she has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And as much as this is a comedy, we've also dealt with some really dark places with that. She did try to kill herself. There have been a lot of problems with the people around her having to deal with her and the things she's been doing. And she had to deal with what she's been doing and kind of find redemption in a lot of it and come to grips with her diagnosis and what's really real and what isn't. It's just they've done it in such a way where it's still funny, and the musical numbers always work, and there's always all these other stories going on, but it's never been over the top or disrespectful to anyone else who might have borderline personality disorder. You know, like they're never making fun of it. It's not a satire. It's real, but in this other world. You know what I mean? Like, it's been really good. Like the reason I want to talk about it was last night's episode. 2 of her best friends are moving away. And she had to deal with that. And she kind of started to go off again. Like, she was trying to find younger people to hang out with and people who won't move away for quite a while. And she was freaking out about it. And, you know, and she kind of went off not thinking about what she was doing, and then finally had to reel it back in and go, holy crap, I'm so sorry, everyone. And here's, you know, obviously I need to up my therapy and, you know, things like that. And it was just like, it felt real. And so I just, you know, it's ending and they have shorter seasons. So again, I think it's worth, if you like, I'm making it sound weird, but if you like musicals, you will love the show because again, it is all original music. All the music is available for purchase. And it's well done and I'm going to miss it. And we're halfway through now. And so I think I'm getting to that point where they're wrapping things up and I'm going to be really sad.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's been a bright spot these last four seasons. Something I look forward to all the time.
Yep.
So I hope whatever she's going to do next, Rachel Bloom, I'm really excited to see what projects she takes on next. Because that's going to be exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Oh, the other thing I love about too is the first season they had a great opening music title sequence, you know, great opening number, opening song. And it was fun. And, you know, you loved it every episode you're singing along. And then the second season, they changed it. And every season they've had a different opening number. And it changes because the character has changed so much every season. And so it's just, that's also been a fun thing to see every year them come up with a new number that describes the show and where it is at this point.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very smart. Yeah. So that's Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Cool.
So that's all I have for TV too. I mean, that's, things are just kind of rolling along with TV. The Great British Bake Off started yesterday on Netflix.
Woo-hoo.
So this is the latest season that actually just ended in the UK 2 weeks ago. And I know who won, so it's making me a little, I follow them on Instagram and all that stuff, and so they post all of that. And yeah.
Well, they accidentally posted it.
No,
Oh,
they do that every year.
Isn't that the one that Prue posted out and ruined it?
That happened a long time ago. That happened like back in the summer or whatever. But when the show airs in the UK, they do it on purpose. They're happy with their winner, so they post it.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're in the process of watching that, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it next week when we're finished. Oh, our doggy just stretched.
Oh, she's so cute. She's just the best. She just got groomed last night, so she's kind of a very short hair today.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool today.
Cool
Today in LA.
I know. We shouldn't complain that
Yeah.
it's 65 degrees. We shouldn't complain.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, yeah, so TV's just moving along. There will be many more things to talk about next week, I believe. I'm finishing up some things, so.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I meant to look this up, but we're going to move on to our Actors Corner. And because there wasn't a lot of things that I had watched, we kind of played a guessing game again of who we should choose to talk about this week. And we happened to be watching Ghostbusters last night, the new one. And I was like, oh, well, why don't we do Melissa McCarthy?
The one with the 4 women with attitude?
Ugh. Armed with plenty of attitude.
Sorry, they're armed with attitude.
Yeah, so I don't know if any of you have paid attention, but the description, at least on DirecTV for Ghostbusters, says armed with proton packs and plenty of attitude.
Yeah.
These 4 women take on blah, 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 blah. And it makes me so angry every single time because they aren't called scientists, because I went and compared. The original Ghostbusters are called parapsychologists, I believe, in their description.
Yes.
But these women are just simply armed with plenty of attitude, and they aren't called scientists or anything. So, it makes me it makes me angry every time we watch it. But anyway, Melissa McCarthy is also being honored tomorrow night at the People's Choice Awards. She's being given the Icon Award.
Incidentally, every time I read that description, my male guilt ticks up a notch.
Good.
So,
I'm glad.
Just making you aware of that. There's so much for me to feel bad about. And I do. So I do my part.
Good.
Yeah. No, not good.
No, it means it's working.
I'm on board.
Well,
I don't need to be worked on anymore.
You
Please.
can always be worked on.
Please stop working on me.
Okay, so we're choosing Melissa McCarthy. Another very difficult one.
I actually had a pretty easy time with this.
Really?
One of the categories I was only able to narrow down to 3, but I had a pretty easy time.
See, I probably could have had like 6 in one of them, and I was like, no, I'm just going to do 2. I'm just going to keep limiting everything to 2.
Okay.
And then I have my honorable mentions. Okay, so Melissa McCarthy, movie you love.
Spy. So I have 2. Spy. That.
I have 2 Spy.
No. Okay. I narrowed it down to 2, one of which is Spy.
Okay.
Okay. The other is Saturday Night Live. I went with, not one in particular, just her visits to Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
Did I ruin this already?
No.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm wondering if you can think of a specific the
one where she's testing the ranch dressing?
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
That's,
yeah.
That's just great.
Ranch-tastic. What is it she says?
I think it's ranch-tastic.
Is it ranch-tastic?
I think so.
I think it's like a spice or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Write that down.
Yep.
How about the one where she's trying to get down the steps? Do you remember that one? She's like an actress, and she's in a big long gown, and she keeps trying to walk down the stairs, and she keeps falling.
Oh,
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah.
And she's also, when they did the Alien thing with Kate McKinnon, didn't they do that with her too?
Did they?
I thought so.
Oh,
I
if
don't
they
know.
did, I gotta go back and see if they did that.
I think we do need to visit all those.
She's been on there enough and had
Yeah.
enough good skits that they should have her
Best of. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And Spy. You chose Spy over all the others. Is there a reason?
I just thought that she played that perfectly.
She did. Well, and that's one of those that I remember I was complaining about because they marketed it like she was a big bumbling idiot, but she kicks butt in the movie.
Yeah.
And she's really good. And
yeah, see, I understand why you say that, and yeah, it's unfortunate because I kind of agree with you. They did market it that way, and she's just a fish out of water, but she takes to it like she's just looking for a chance.
But she really wasn't. I mean, she anyway, it was very good. I have that under that's one of my movies I like because it is one of my favorites of hers. She really she doesn't play the bumbling idiot.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's so featured in it.
Exactly.
She's in just about every scene.
So the ones I love, it was really difficult. I have to go to Bridesmaids. That's one of them. Everyone knows she's nominated for everything Oscar. She did win the Golden Globe, I believe, for it.
I think so.
It's one of those you can't. And like, what was it last week? Busy Phillips said she auditioned for that role. Like she got close to getting it. I can't even like the things that Melissa brought to that, the carpal tunnel gloves and the French tip nails, and there's nothing in that movie she does that's wrong. It's all perfect. And it works every second. And then I love that she's the one character that you wouldn't expect, but at the end, she's the one that goes and gets Kristen Wiig and like slaps the crap out of her and says, "Wake up,
right, and
get with your friend, and grow up and be this way." Like I love the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
And the second one that I love is Ghostbusters.
Yep.
And look, people love the original. It's a classic. Wouldn't want to mess with it. This one is just as good. And the white man's gonna disagree.
No.
I know. I'm kidding. I know. It was
okay.
Just funny.
I thought I had my "you go girl" face on.
No.
Sorry.
It's just as good, and it's the nods that they give to the original are perfect. People missed all of it because they wanted to be brats about it, but it's fantastic because there are 4 smart women that really take a hold. And people talk about, Wonder Woman was so great because it was the first time I saw it. No, Ghostbusters was the first time I cried. It took probably 5 viewings before I stopped crying at the end when they're battling, because it was the first time I had ever seen 4 women taking on an enemy. Men were literally paralyzed. Like there was not a single man off to the side helping or this or that. No one else was around.
Right.
And in the theater, I couldn't help it. I was taken aback, and there's no there's no talk about men. And I mean, you want to talk about passing the Bechdel test? This was the movie to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all like uber political today. I'm so sorry.
Well,
It's been a week, people.
It has. And everybody went through the same week, so I think they understand.
I hope so. Okay, movies we like.
So this is where I have 3.
Okay.
And I'm just going to rattle them off because you talked about 2 of them already.
Okay.
Ghostbusters, Bridesmaids, and Heat.
The Heat.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, she was in Heat.
Yeah, that scene with De Niro and Pacino, she's off to the side. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Hello. There I am.
There you are.
Oh, great.
Technical difficulty.
Yeah, so do you want to say anything additionally about Ghostbusters or Bridesmaids?
Well, so the original Ghostbusters came out when I was 16, in my formative years, which we've talked about before.
Your formative years are your 20s.
That's true. This is pre-formative. And Ghostbusters for a long, long time was a movie that when somebody asked what's your favorite movie, that was the movie I went with.
Yeah.
So I have and will always hold that movie in high regard. And I thought this was just a fantastic addition to the franchise. It wasn't a remake.
Right.
Different story.
Right.
All the original guys were in it, except for Harold.
But he was. There was a bust of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
At least gave cameos. And it was a good story. It was well written, well acted. The effects were fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny.
It was. I didn't think there was much to dislike about this movie.
Right.
So, kind of a big FU to all the people that said, what they said, because it's totally misogynistic.
Yeah, and they were wrong. If you're not even willing to give it a try, then yeah, you got problems. You know,
seriously.
Because if you see it and you have a problem with it, then maybe you can have a discussion. But if you're not willing to see it, then
yeah, I mean, it's so funny.
It's so funny,
and all of them are just so good in it.
Yeah, some of our favorite lines now are from that movie.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
you need Patty. Patty
get out of my friend, Ghost.
Patty come with benefits.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
Yeah, I think most of our lines are actually hers.
Oh yeah,
Leslie Jones.
Pretty much.
I think that's when we solidified our affection for her.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This movie put her over the top for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And Bridesmaids, just because.
Yeah, because it was a good collection of women.
Right.
You know, funny, strong. You know, just a really great movie. I actually think I like. So the one you always hear compared to Bridesmaids is The Hangover.
Oh.
And I think I liked Bridesmaids more than I liked The Hangover.
Yeah.
Now, we went back and we watched most of The Hangover not too long ago, and I did like it more than I remember liking it.
Yeah.
But I think I still like Bridesmaids more than it. And it's because of the women. It's because of the personalities involved.
Right. I agree.
And
it's a good story.
Good.
It's a good story about friendship.
It is.
Period. Yeah.
It is.
And The Heat, you said. So her and Sandra Bullock.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, that's Melissa being her crude, taking the crude filter off and just being her crude self.
Yeah.
And, she's just.
When she gets in that mode, some of the lines that she spews are the funniest lines. So I just watched The Heat the other day too. And again, I always cry at the end, no matter what, when she reads the yearbook.
Sure.
But line readings makes me go to 40-year-old version, or no, This Is 40.
Mm-hmm.
When Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann are called to school, and Melissa McCarthy's the other mom with the principal, and Melissa McCarthy just starts going off. I'm gonna get a rat, and it's gonna go up your butt. I mean, and she's just rattling off these lines, and they're so awful and mean. And it's funnier because we've been told Melissa is one of the nicest people in the world.
Right.
But she spews these mean lines like no one, and it just cracks me up.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ideas for a filmmaker is to just tell Melissa,
tear someone apart.
Yeah,
verbally. Yeah,
do your thing, no holds barred. Don't worry about it. Just go for it.
Right.
And you're gonna get. Yeah. I don't know what you're gonna get, but it's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be hysterical.
It's just gonna be great.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so the ones I like, Spy was one of them, which we already talked about, and my other one, and she's not. It's not really her movie, but I do love the movie St. Vincent.
Yeah. Yes.
Bill Murray, her, and the cute little boy.
Yeah.
And I bawl every time I see the movie. And it's not like it's not a funny thing for her. She's the neighbor, and Bill Murray's taking care of her kid, and it's just a great movie.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I love that movie. Yeah. I really do. And if we ever do Bill Murray, that's actually going to be one of the movies I love.
Yeah.
Which is going to be for most people kind
Bill
of a
Murray
sleeper for him.
Difficult. Yeah.
But I really like that movie, and she was a big part of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, movie you hate.
Tammy.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's so weird, and I try to watch it again and again and again, and I can't get into it.
Yeah, that to me is like her one professional misstep.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's not a good. There's really nothing about it I like.
Sometimes there's some funny stuff. I mean, look, there's some funny, especially when she's robbing the place in the beginning, and the bag she puts on her head has the angry eyebrows. Yeah. That's funny, but that might not have been her. Someone, props might have done that. It's like,
sure, but it's still her. But that's literally the highlight of the movie.
Well, there's some good moments with her and Susan Sarandon, and there's definitely some good moments, but overall, it's just not one I can get into over and over again.
No, the bag over the head with the angry eyebrows is the peak for me.
All right, Secretly Love.
Samantha Who?
That's what I chose.
I know.
Have you watched it?
I've watched enough of it to know that it was a really good series.
So Samantha Who, I still watch at least once a week. I put on at night. And that was really my first foray into her. Because I did not watch Gilmore Girls. And so I completely fell in love with her as Samantha's childhood best friend that comes back into her life. She was great. And it's a great show, period, because I love Christina Applegate and Jennifer Esposito. It's such a funny show. But yeah, that was kind of my first thing into it. So yeah, that's what I put as well, because I love that show, and I do still watch it as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, and it was clever.
It was different. Yeah, it was a different premise.
Very clever, because it was one of the. It felt like it was kind of one of the early shows along that line where somebody dies and comes back as something or somebody or whatever. You know, like Drop Dead Diva was after it, and
but that's not what happens. But okay, she gets amnesia. That's all.
Yeah, but okay, so
it's okay.
You know, where they forget who they are, or they
yeah, I see what you're saying.
There's a sudden change for them.
Right.
They're not themselves, but they are.
Right. Doesn't have to do with just a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Embarrassed you haven't seen
Life of the Party.
I keep trying to get you to watch it.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Like every weekend I'm like,
I know it's not. Hey, it's not your fault.
Are you Goodwill Hunting me?
Oh, I don't know.
You haven't seen that?
No.
Oh my god.
I'm embarrassed I haven't seen that too. But that's for a different day.
So I'm not really embarrassed I haven't seen it, but Gilmore Girls, because that's where people I did watch some of the new season that went on the Netflix a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I watched like half that season, but and I love Amy Sherman Palladino did Gilmore Girls. I loved Bunheads that she did after Gilmore Girls, and now we love Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So that's kind of why I feel bad that I haven't seen Gilmore Girls.
Right.
But now I don't have the time to go back and watch that. It's too much.
That's actually another one that I would say I'm embarrassed I haven't seen, and I know that was kind of, you know, always looked at as a chick show.
Yeah.
But there had to have been some good It had to have been a good show to be as revered as it is.
Right. For sure.
So.
Yeah. And what do you want to add to your watch list?
At this point, kind of just out of morbid curiosity, but the Happy Time Murders.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess we'll be watching that.
Yeah. And her one that's out right now, Can You Ever Forgive Me? I'm really, really interested in that.
Yeah, that
fascinates me.
I might want to see that just because it looks like it's a stretch for her. It's like in a role we haven't seen her in.
Right.
Right. There's no comedy.
Yeah. I also would just like to point out that she did have a clothing line, and the jeans that I wear every day are her jeans, and I have a lot of her tops and a lot of her clothes. So, you know, she can also design clothes very well.
You said had?
I don't think she does anymore. I've tried to find information and I can't find it anymore, which sucks because her jeans are fantastic, and
that's weird.
I would love to get more.
That's weird that it was hot for like a year or two and then it just went away.
I don't know. Maybe it just took a break. I don't know. But honorable mentions for me, Life of the Party you talked about. It's really good. Everyone would enjoy that. The Boss, her and Kristen Bell. It's a great pairing.
Yeah.
And it's a very sweet movie. Cry, you know. Same with Identity Thief. Her and Jason Bateman. Oh my God, it's so funny. Yeah. And again, I cry. She can do that thing of that really like mean-spirited, but you know it's a cover-up, and then find out there's so much vulnerability to her that you end up, feeling so much compassion for her. Like, she's just good at bridging that.
Like The Boss.
Yeah, and Identity Thief.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talked about The Heat. And we talked about this when we were doing Jennifer Lopez, but The Backup Plan. It's my favorite scene of the movie when the birth is happening and she's walking around tapping the drum and singing her song and stuff. Oh my God, Melissa McCarthy's so funny in that. So that's everything I think we have for her.
Okay.
So tomorrow's People's Choice Award. She's getting the Icon Award. I think that's great. Totally deserved.
Uh-huh.
And I can't wait to see what she does next.
Yes.
Hopefully another Ghostbusters.
Well,
I hear it's still being talked about.
It should be.
So,
it should be. They've made sequels for movies that...
They made Ghostbusters 2. Come on. Comparatively, it's not as good.
Okay, the decision to make Ghostbusters 2 was a sound one.
Yes, definitely.
They shouldn't have waited as long as they did.
Right.
But the idea was good. The movie and the execution...
Right.
Meh. but it was good. But you look at what they're making sequels to nowadays.
There's like 6 Transformers or something.
Yeah, we could have dropped at least 4 of those.
I didn't like anything after the first one, so.
All right, dropped at least 5 of them. It's fine.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's everything this week. Still not a lot to talk about, but we're here at an hour. So sorry, everyone.
That's amazing.
I know.
We're good.
Talkie.
We're good at what we do.
This was a very serious show. I'm not sure this was enjoyable at all.
We really apologize.
Yeah, I'll try to spread out what I'm watching so it's not all like...
We may have the start to a political podcast, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
What does that mean?
It wasn't even close.
No, I mean, you and I could do a political podcast. Not this. We wouldn't put up this episode as a political. You know what?
No, what?
I don't know. I was asking you. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think on that note, that's all I have.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. We have updated our Etsy store with a lot more t-shirts. They're all movies and television based. So please check out our Etsy store. The shop's name is 3 Pupmigos, Pupmigos. There's a lot of things on there. We have the Good Place t-shirts. We have some musical t-shirts. We have movie t-shirts and, some old shows like Cougar Town, because those are some of my favorites. So check it out. And if you have any requests or ideas for your favorite TV shows or movies, we'll definitely put it together and
Sure.
and get you one. So
Absolutely.
Check out our Etsy store. Check out our website, watchingmystories.com. There's a link to the Etsy store on there as well. And we will be in touch next week.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us ramble.
Yeah, next week we'll be talking about Thanksgiving movies too. The
And the
3.
Friends episodes.
No, that's the following week.
Sorry.
You can't do anything.
This is why I was fired as a producer of this show.
Anyway. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Until next time, I'll be watching my stories.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.